Howdy folks! As always around these parts, Saturdays are devoted to talking about an episode of a superhero animated series, and today I'm going to be talking about the episode of Batman the Animated Series titled The Man Who Killed Batman. There will be spoilers, so if you haven't seen the episode, then you may want to avoid this review, or if you forgot what happened in the episode, then this review can catch you up on what went down before the review itself happens. We open with a nervous wreck named Sid, who is a small-time thug who has apparently accidentally killed Batman. He is telling his story to Rupert Thorne, and we see how he goes from a nobody to accidentally killing Batman and now being celebrated by the underworld to then becoming a target for the Joker, who is none too pleased that his rival is dead. Of course, we find out all is not as it seems, as Batman was just feigning death to get to the bottom of the drug trafficking that has been plaguing Gotham recently. This episode ends with Sid now in prison, finally a big shot, as he always wanted, as his reputation makes him just as popular as he was when everyone thought that he had killed Batman. This episode, like POV and Joker's Favor, takes Batman out of the spotlight for an episode, but still manages to show us how he impacts the city and the world around him. In this case, Batman is only in the episode for about 5 minutes, and isn't even in the episode at all as Bruce Wayne. For the rest of the episode, we're following Sid's story and seeing what life is like for a schlubby thug in Gotham, and especially what it's like in the city, both for criminals and for cops, when it appears that Batman is dead. We get a really heartwarming scene like when Montoya and Bullock find out that Batman is dead, although I am curious if they were in on his plan all along, or if Batman actually planted a dead body that they thought was Batman so that he could keep his plan a secret. And then we get a scene with how the Joker reacts to Batman's death that is both amusing and kind of twisted and disturbing. A lot of people really loved the movie The Dark Knight, and I remember so many people were just endlessly fascinated with Joker's relationship with Batman in that movie. The whole thing about how Joker doesn't want Batman dead because if he was dead, Joker essentially wouldn't have anyone to play with, that shows up in this episode almost 20 years before The Dark Knight made that aspect of their relationship so noteworthy. Although I'm sure there is some comic from before Crisis on Infinite Earths that I'm unaware of that played with this aspect as well. I'm just kind of surprised that this episode was playing with that idea that is so famous from The Dark Knight and that it is so very similar. But getting back to how this episode doesn't really show us much Batman, like I said, this series has tried that before, and in some cases it really works. Joker's Favor is a fantastic episode in my humble. I've Got a Batman in My Basement, however, is not. But this falls much closer to the Joker's Favor side of things. I am enthralled with what's going on, even though I know Batman isn't really dead. But this episode still makes me intrigued with what's going on and what could happen next, and it really surprises me a few times, like when the coffin actually falls in the acid and when Thorne pulls a gun on Sid. But this episode doesn't quite grab me emotionally like Joker's Favor does. I think it's because even though he's incompetent and is mostly played for laughs, Sid is still a villain, and his ultimate goal is to rise up in the ranks of the world of villainy. It's hard for me to feel sorry for him when the Joker tries to kill him, even though I know that he didn't mean to kill Batman, because he's still a bad guy. Compare this to Joker's Favor, or even Be a Clown, where the protagonist the episode chooses to focus on is much more sympathetic than what we have here. But like I said, Sid is a joke, and it's not like I really hate seeing him on screen or anything. It's just that he's not as sympathetic as some of the other non-Batman protagonists this series has given us. I know this has been a very short review, but I don't really think I have anything else to say about this episode. Even though I really enjoyed myself, and I definitely think this is a good episode, objectively speaking, there isn't a whole lot to say about it really, and that's not a bad thing, I don't think. Sometimes when I do have a whole lot to say, it's usually when I'm complaining, so me being uncharacteristically mum for this review just shows how much I like this episode. So that's it for today. What did you guys think of this episode? Like it? Hate it? What did you think of this review? Let me know the answer to both of those questions in the comments below, and also don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you did like this episode, then next week I'll be talking about an episode of Batman Beyond, and the week after that I'll be talking about another episode of Batman the Animated Series. So until then, hope you guys have a great rest of the day. I'll catch you later.